Okay, I'm here with Chris Parsons from Muzzy Lane Entertainment. Chris, how you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what Making History 2 is all about?
Making History 2 is a grand strategy game that takes place in the mid-20th century, centers on World War II. Like other strategy games, your goal is to take over as much as you can or ally with people and keep from getting destroyed. What we've tried to do in this game is remove the things that we don't like about strategy games and put in as much of the stuff that we do like. So the things that we remove were things like walls of text or lots of spreadsheets that take you away from actually playing the game. So you can see this is the map. Wherever you're playing the game, you're on the map. So there will be different panels that might pop up, right? But that's the most the map will ever be obscured. So you're always going to see what you're doing, and you're never removed from the map itself. We've also tried to deliver as much information as possible visually. Our game designer, Ralph Girth, is a guy who's formerly from LucasArts. He's a really excellent designer as well as artist. So we were able to do a lot of great things visually with our game. For instance, right now you're looking at the geographical view of the map. If I zoom out, you'll see it looks just like something you'd see in like Google Maps. It was all drawn by our artist, though. So it lets players immediately see, the world is not some big flat surface. There's a bunch of places where it's going to be a lot more difficult to operate your armies and things like that. So you've got that sense of realism right from the start and immersion. But to deliver more information, we've created map overlays. So here you have an overlay that shows you all the national borders. As you expand, you'll see the borders change as people take over different areas. There's an empire view, which shows the different states that you could have. Here you have we're looking at France. This is France's colonies. So that's an important part of our game. We don't just have the nation itself. Colonies act very differently than the regular nations, just as they did in that time and now. So another really cool thing that we've put in our game are demographics. Each region in the game, each one of these little areas, has nationality, culture, ethnicity, and religion. And we put that in because a good strategy war game shouldn't just be about what happens when you take over. It's what happens afterwards. We see that now today. It's easy to take over Iraq, but then what do you do with it once you've got it? All these different groups that live there that have cultural differences all pop up and are vying for power among themselves. And that's what happened in World War II. If you're Germany and you take over Austria, they're very similar culture. You don't get much trouble from them. But if you take over an unstable area like the Balkans, right, Yugoslavia, you get a ton of trouble, and you can see why. So here we're looking at Germany's nationality, and you look at the Balkans over here, and it's just all big multicolored mosaic, and as you go through these different things, you can see ethnicity, it's all really different. So all of those groups are going to give you a lot more trouble. And we refer to that in our game as national stability. So as you take over some of these areas, you want to manage your empire. You might take the path the British took and make colonies. You might make somebody a puppet state. In each case, you're making a decision that gives you less control or more control, but you also have more problems with the local populace or less problems. We really wanted to give players an opportunity to make a lot of interesting decisions. And so this is an example of that. It underlies the military gameplay. The other part that underlies that is the economy. When you look at our economic system, it's very complex under the covers, but players themselves have a very simple interface. They don't have to spend a ton of time with it, although it can be really fun. This is the market, the world market, and it lets you set stockpiles and try to maintain them while you're playing the game. So you don't run out of key resources, arms and goods and metals and coal, things that you need, oil, things that you need to manage your nation, your military, right? So in peacetime, though, you can play this like the stock market. When they first put this in the game, I was playing it like the guys from Trading Places. Sell Mortimer, sell. Drive prices up on arms and buy them all up and then sell them and make a killing. So that was really fun. You can choose to do that if you want to. So because you can play any nation in our game, you may not be playing one of the big powerhouse nations. If you're playing like Switzerland, you may want to become the broker. So while the other guys are at war, you're the one that's selling arms to both the UK and to Germany, right? And making yourself wealthy in the process. So that's your state of power. we'll have a lot of different victory conditions so players can enjoy playing as a variety of different people as well. Like a lot of strategy games, we organize our production in cities. So each city has the opportunity to build something. It can be units, or it can be additional add-on buildings that open up more technologies and more unit potential. Back to here for a second. So we're playing as France right now, so I'm going to go into Paris here. So when you build stuff in our game, it appears on the map. So you build new factories, they appear. You build an aircraft plant, right? It will appear on here, and then when you bomb it, it goes away. So people can really get a sense of, like what the bombing was like in World War II. You go in and you go after the things that would really stop, if you want to stop Germany's tanks, you bomb their tank factory, things like that. Every nation has units that are unique, so players can get that sense of, seeing the cool uniforms and the cool different planes, the Spitfires and the, all the different, American planes, the Mustangs and stuff. So, because people love that, and strategy gamers love that. The other aspect that's not directly in the game that we think is a key part of our game is the multiplayer. So if you like to play strategy games, and I'm a huge strategy gamer, I love multiplayer. It's always more fun to crush your friends, right? But it's very difficult to play a game because they're so long. So if you're playing something like that lasts for 100 hours or 80 hours or something, the chances that you're going to constantly be able to get that group of people back together again are very small. So you see fewer people playing turn-based games because of that. And yet turn-based gives us an opportunity to do something that you can't do with an RTS or any other game of that strategy game, and that is create asymmetrical multiplayer. So what we've done is we're launching a game service. So when you're playing our game, a multiplayer, you'll come to our site and get into a game. The game will live in the cloud on our servers. It won't live on one of our PCs. So when you go to play, we can get together and do a typical session. If we do a poker night on Wednesdays and we go and we play 2-minute turns, 5-minute turns, and go through 40 or 50 turns and have a blast, and then we say, well, we want to play before we get together next Wednesday. We could set the turn timer for like 24 hours. Then the next day, when you get a moment, you can go in, take your turn. I can go in whenever I feel like it, take my turn. And when everyone's taking their turns, the turn timer rolls over. You get a notification on your email, on your phone, saying, hey, the turn rolled over, you can take the next one. So you don't have to be locked in waiting for people. You just go in and it's all gameplay, and then you're gone.
Now this is all Sandstone? Is this what Sandstone?
It's part of the Sandstone platform that we've built the game on that allows you to do that. And Sandstone also lets you play in the web browser.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of my questions. Yeah. So right now this is the native client.
Yes.
That's running.
Yeah, we can't play in the web browser because we don't really have good internet in here.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you will be able to play in the web browser, which means that if you're somewhere where you're not on your PC, you can download the client and access your game.
Can you tell me what the difference is from Making History 1 to Making History 2?
Well, Making History 1, there's a lot more abstraction. So, part of the original game that led to Making History 1 was created for education. So we wanted to make things so that they could be done quickly. So people had a class that was going to last an hour or something at university, right? We didn't have those restrictions for this game. We developed it from the ground up to be a commercial game. So we were able to put in a lot of stuff that we would have liked to put in the first game and were unable to. So I think we've expanded it across every area. The military units are more detailed. They gain experience, so you can create crack troops, and they have a lot more variation. Specialty units like engineers that help you across rivers and paratroopers, and those were things that would have been very difficult to do the first time. So we've added a lot of that stuff on the military end. The economy was very robust in the first game. We've added to that, but we've mostly just tried to make it very easy for people to use, so you can have a lot of fun with it and understand that it is a part of, grand strategy.
I got you.
And of course, we didn't have the anything close to the domestic piece of all the demographics, and that will inform everything about how players manage their empire. So our goal overall was to give players a lot more interesting stuff to do all the time, not just when they're at war.
I got you.
And I think we've really accomplished that in this game.
Awesome. All right. Well, Chris Parsons, thank you so much.
My pleasure. It's great talking to you.
Chris from Muzzy Lane Software, out.